Amazing Grace by James Newton. Read for Librivox.org by Laurie and Walden. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be as long as life endures. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Back to the Army by Rudyard Kipling. Read for Librivox.org on the 22nd of February 2007 by Alan Chant. Living in Tunbridge, England. www.sevenoaksprep.kent.sch.uk. I'm here in a tickly ulster and a broken billycock hat, a-layin' onto the sergeant I don't know a gun from a bat. My shirt's doing duty for jacket, my socks sticking out of my boots, and I'm learning the damned old goose step along of the new recruits. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. Don't look so hard, for I haven't no card, I'm back to the army again. I done my 6 years service, Her Majesty says. Good day, you're pleased to come when you're rung for, and here's your old back pay. And 4pence a day for baccy, and bloomin' generous too. And now you can make your fortune, the same as your officers do. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. How did I learn to do right about turn? I'm back to the army again. A man of 24 that hasn't learned of a trade, beside reserve again him, he'd better be never made. I tried me luck for a quarter, and that was enough for me, and I thought of Her Majesty's barracks, and I thought I'd go and see. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. 'Tisn't my fault if I dress when I ought. I'm back to the army again. The sergeant asked no questions, but he winked the other eye. He says to me, "Shun!" and I shunted, the same as in days gone by, for he saw the set of my shoulders, and I couldn't help holding straight when me and the other rookies came under the barrack gate. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. Who would have thought I could carry and port? I'm back to the army again. I took me bath, and I wallered, for God I needed it so. I smelt the smell of the barracks, I heard the bugles go, I heard the feet on the gravel, the feet of the men what drill, and I says to me fluttering heartstrings, I says to 'em, peace, be still. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. Who said I knew when the Jumner was due? I'm back to the army again. I carried me slops to the tailor. I says to him, none of your lip. You tight 'em over the shoulders and loose 'em over the hip, for the set of the tunic's horrid. And he says to me, strike me dead, but I thought you was used to the business. And so he done what I said. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. Rather too free with my fancies? What, me? I'm back to the army again. Next week I'll have 'em fitted. I'll buy me a swagger cane. They'll let me free of the barracks to walk on the hoe again in the name of William Parsons that used to be Edward Clay, and any poor beggar that wants it can draw my 4pence a day. Back to the army again, sergeant, back to the army again. Out of the cold and the rain, sergeant, out of the cold and the rain. Who's there? A man that's too good to be lost you. A man that is handled and made. A man that will pay what he cost you in learning the others their trade. Parade. You're dropping the pick of the army because you don't help 'em remain, but drives 'em to cheat to get out of the street, and back to the army again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bush by James Lister Cuthbertson, recorded for Librivox.org by Susan Barker. The Bush. Give us from dawn to dark blue of Australian skies, let there be none to mark whither our pathway lies. Give us when noontide comes rest in the woodland free, fragrant breath of the gums, cold sweet scent of the sea. Give us the wattle's gold and the dew-laden air, and the loveliness bold loneliest landscapes wear. These are the haunts we love, glad with enchanted hours, bright as the heavens above, fresh as the wild bush flowers. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Clancy of the Overflow by Andrew Barton Banjo Patterson, read for Librivox.org by Susan Barker. Clancy of the Overflow. I had written him a letter, which I had, for want of better knowledge, sent to where I met him down the Lachlan years ago. He was shearing when I knew him, so I sent the letter to him just on spec, addressed as follows, Clancy of the Overflow. And an answer came directed in a writing unexpected, and I think the same was written with a thumbnail dipped in tar. 'Twas his shearing mate who wrote it, and verbatim I will quote it. Clancy's gone to Queensland drovin', and we don't know where he are. In my wild erratic fancy, visions come to me of Clancy gone a-droving down the Cooper where the western drovers go. As the stock are slowly stringing, Clancy rides behind them singing, for the drover's life has pleasures that the townsfolk never know. And the bush hath friends to meet him, and their kindly voices greet him in the murmur of the breezes and the river on its bars. And he sees a vision splendid of the sunlit plains extended, and at night the wondrous glory of the everlasting stars. I am sitting in my dingy little office, where a stingy ray of sunlight struggles feebly down between the houses tall, and the fetid air and gritty of the dusty, dirty city through the open window floating spreads its foulness over all. And in place of lowing cattle, I can hear the fiendish rattle of the tramways and the buses making hurry down the street, and the language uninviting of the gutter children fighting comes fitfully and faintly through the ceaseless tramp of feet. And the hurrying people daunt me, and their pallid faces haunt me as they shoulder one another in their rush and nervous haste, with their eager eyes and greedy, and their stunted forms and weedy, for townsfolk have no time to grow, they have no time to waste. And I somehow rather fancy that I'd like to change with Clancy, like to take a turn at droving where the seasons come and go, while he faced the round eternal of the cash book and the journal. But I doubt he'd suit the office. Clancy of the Overflow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
This reading for Librivox.org by Debra Lynn in northern Lower Michigan. A Cry from the Consumer by Wilbur D. Nesbitt. Grasshoppers roam the Kansas fields and eat the tender grass. A trivial affair indeed. But what then comes to pass? You go to buy a Panama or any other hat. You learn the price has been advanced a lot because of that. A glacier up in Canada has slipped a mile or two. A little thing like this can boost the selling price of glue. Occurrences so tragic always thrill me to the core. I hope and pray that nothing ever happens any more. Last week the peaceful Indians went a-searching after scalps, and then there was an avalanche way over in the Alps. These diametric happenings seem nothing much, But look, we had to add $1 to the wages of the cook. The bean crop down at Boston has grown measurably less, and so the dealer charges more for goods to make a dress. Each day there is some incident to make a man feel sore. I'm on my knees to ask that nothing happens any more. It didn't rain in Utah, and it did in old Vermont. Result? It costs you 50 more to take a summer's jaunt. Upon the plains of Tibet some tornadoes took a roll. Therefore the barons have to charge a higher price for coal. A streetcar strike in Omaha has cumulative shocks. It boosted huckleberries up to 20 cents a box. No matter what is happening, it always finds your door. Give us a rest. Let nothing ever happen any more. Mosquitoes in New Jersey bite a magnate on the wing. Result, poor consumer feels that fierce mosquito's sting. The skeeter's song is silenced, but in something like an hour the grocers understand that it requires a raise in flour. A house burns down in Texas and a stove blows up in Maine. 10 minutes later, breakfast foods and prices show a gain. Effects must follow causes, which is what I most deplore. I hope and pray that nothing ever happens any more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Divine Image by William Blake. Read for Librivox.org by Theresia, Szepesi, Blair. To mercy, pity, peace, and love all pray in their distress, and to these virtues of delight return their thankfulness. For mercy, pity, peace, and love is God, our Father dear, and mercy, pity, peace, and love is man, his child and care. For mercy has a human heart, pity a human face, and love the human form divine, and peace the human dress. Then every man of every clime that prays in his distress prays to the human form divine, love, mercy, pity, peace. And all must love the human form, in heathen, Turk, or Jew. Where mercy, God, and pity dwell, there God is dwelling too. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fate by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Read for Librivox.org by Richard Gaudet. Deep in the man sits fast his fate, to mold his fortunes, mean or great. Unknown to Cromwell as to me was Cromwell's measure or degree. Unknown to him as to his horse, if heathen his groom be better or worse. He works, plots, fights in rude affairs, with squires, lords, kings his craft compares, till late he learned, through doubt and fear, broad England harboured not his peer. Obeying time, the last to own the genius from his cloudy throne, for the provision is allied unto the thing so signified, or say, the foresight that awaits is the same genius that creates. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Haunted Chamber by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for Librivox.org by Peter Yearsley. Each heart has its haunted chamber, where the silent moonlight falls. On the floor are mysterious footsteps, there are whispers along the walls, and mine at times is haunted by phantoms of the past, as motionless as shadows by the silent moonlight cast. A form sits by the window that is not seen by day, for as soon as the dawn approaches it vanishes away. It sits there in the moonlight, itself as pale and still, and points with its airy finger across the window-sill. Without, before the window, there stands a gloomy pine, whose boughs wave upward and downward, as wave these thoughts of mine. And underneath its branches is the grave of a little child, who died upon life's threshold, and never wept nor smiled. What are ye, O pallid phantoms, that haunt my troubled brain, that vanish when day approaches, and at night return again? What are ye, O pallid phantoms, but the statues without breath, that stand on the bridge overarching the silent river of death? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Read for Librivox.org by Richard Gaudet. Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds, and shall find, me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, recorded for Librivox.org by Susan Barker. Jabberwocky. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the Manxome foe he sought, so rested he by the Tumtum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy, O frabjous day, calloo, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Mulga Bill's Bicycle by Andrew Barton, Banjo Patterson. Read for Librivox.org by Susan Barker. Mulga Bill's Bicycle. 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eaglehawk that caught the cycling craze. He turned away the good old horse that served him many days. He dressed himself in cycling clothes, resplendent to be seen. He hurried off to town and bought a shining new machine. And as he wheeled it through the door with air of lordly pride, the grinning shop assistant said, "Excuse me, can you ride?" "See here, young man," said Mulga Bill, "from Walgett to the sea, from Conroy's Gap to Castlereagh, there's none can ride like me. I'm good all round at everything, as everybody knows. Although I'm not the one to talk, I hate a man that blows. But riding is my special gift, my chiefest sole delight. Just ask a wild duck, can it swim? A wildcat, can it fight? There's nothing clothed in hair or hide or built of flesh or steel. There's nothing walks or jumps or runs on axle, hoof or wheel, but what I'll sit while hide will hold and girths and straps are tight. I'll ride this here two-wheeled concern right straight away at sight." 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eaglehawk that sought his own abode, that perched above the Dead Man's Creek beside the mountain road. He turned the cycle down the hill and mounted for the fray, but ere he'd gone a dozen yards, it bolted clean away. It left the track and through the trees just like a silver streak. It whistled down the awful slope towards the Dead Man's Creek. It shaved a stump by half an inch, it dodged a big white box. The very wallaroos in fright went scrambling up the rocks. The wombats hiding in their caves dug deeper underground, as Mulga Bill, as white as chalk, sat tight to every bound. It struck a stone and gave a spring that cleared a fallen tree. It raced beside a precipice as close could be. And then as Mulga Bill let out one last despairing shriek, it made a leap of 20 feet into the Dead Man's Creek. 'Twas Mulga Bill from Eaglehawk that slowly swam ashore. He said, "I've had some narrow shaves and lively rides before. I've rode a wild bull round a yard to win a £5 bet, but this was the most awful ride that I've encountered yet. I'll give that two-wheeled outlaw best, it's shaken all my nerve, to feel it whistle through the air and plunge and buck and swerve. It's safe at rest in Dead Man's Creek, we'll leave it lying still. A horse's back is good enough henceforth for Mulga Bill." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Love is in a Light Attire by James Joyce, for Librivox.org, narrated by Sean McKinley. My love is in a light attire among the apple trees, where the gay winds do most desire to run in companies. There, where the gay winds stay to woo the young leaves as they pass, my love goes slowly, bending to her shadow on the grass. And where the sky's a pale blue cup over the laughing land, my love goes lightly, holding up her dress with dainty hand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Nature by Henry David Thoreau. Read for Librivox.org by Alan Davis Drake. O Nature, I do not aspire to be the highest in thy choir, to be a meteor in thy sky, or comet that may range on high, only a zephyr that may blow among the reeds by the river low. Give me thy most privy place, where to run my airy race. In some withdrawn, unpublic mead, let me sigh upon a reed, or in the woods, with leafy din, whisper the still evening in. Some still work give me to do, only be it near to you. For I'd rather be thy child and pupil in the forest wild, than be the king of men elsewhere, and most sovereign slave of care. To have one moment of thy dawn, or share the city's year forlorn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Rainy Day by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for Librivox.org by Peter Yearsley. The day is cold and dark and dreary. It rains, and the wind is never weary. The vine still clings to the mouldering wall, but at every gust the dead leaves fall, and the day is dark and dreary. My life is cold and dark and dreary. It rains, and the wind is never weary. My thoughts still cling to the mouldering past, but the hopes of youth fall thick in the blast, and the days are dark and dreary. Be still, sad heart, and cease repining. Behind the clouds is the sun still shining. Thy fate is the common fate of all. Into each life some rain must fall. Some days must be dark and dreary. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Sonnet of the Moon by Charles Best. Read for Librivox.org by Catherine Monachia. Look how the pale queen of the silent night doth cause the ocean to attend upon her, and he, as long as she is in his sight, with her full tide is ready her to honor. But when the silver wagon of the moon is mountain up so high he cannot follow, the sea calls home his crystal waves to moan, and with low ebb doth manifest his sorrow. So you that are the sovereign of my heart, have all my joys attending on your will, my joys low ebbing when you do depart. When you return their tide my heart doth fill. So as you come and as you do depart, joys ebb and flow within my tender heart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Child Dancing in the Wind by William Yeats. Read for Librivox.org by Robert Hespe. Dance there upon the shore. What need have you to care for wind or water's roar? And tumble out your hair that the salt drops have wet. Being young, you have not known the fool's triumph, nor yet love lost as soon as won, nor the best laborer dead, and all the sheaves to bind. What need have you to dread the monstrous crying of the wind? Has no one said those daring kind eyes should be more learned, or warned you how despairing the moths are when they are burned? I could have warned you, but you are young, so we speak a different tongue. Oh, you will take whatever's offered, and dream that all the world's a friend, suffer as your mother suffered, be as broken in the end. But I am old and you are young, and I speak a barbarous tongue. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Under the Greenwood Tree by William Shakespeare. Read for Librivox.org by Alan Davis Drake. Under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me, and turn his merry note unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall we see no enemy, but winter and rough weather. Who doth ambition shun, and loves to lie in the sun, seeking the food he eats, and pleased with what he gets. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy, but winter and rough weather. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Who Goes Amid the Green Wood by James Joyce. For Librivox.org. Narrated by Sean McKinley. Who goes amid the green wood, with springtide all adorning her? Who goes amid the merry green wood, to make it merrier? Who passes in the sunlight, by ways that know the light footfall? Who passes in the sweet sunlight, with mien so virginal? The ways of all the woodland gleam with a soft and golden fire. For whom does all the sunny woodland carry so brave attire? Oh, it is for my true love, the woods their rich apparel wear. Oh, it is for my own true love, that is so young and fair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Windhover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Read for Librivox.org. The Windhover, to Christ our Lord. I caught this morning morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple dawn-drawn falcon, in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there. How he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, then off, forth on swing, as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of, the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valour and act, oh, air, pride, plume, here buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, oh, my chevalier. No wonder of it. Sheer plod makes plough down Sicilian shine, and blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winds of May That Dance on the Sea by James Joyce, for Librivox.org, narrated by Sean McKinley. Winds of May that dance on the sea, dancing a ring around in glee, from furrow to furrow, while overhead the foam flies up to be garlanded, in silvery arches spanning the air, saw you my true love anywhere? Well-a-day, well-a-day, for the winds of May, love is unhappy when love is away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.